Hey everybody, welcome back to JT Channel. I completely ignore the bags under my eyes. It's called having a toddler in your bed kicking you in the face in her sleep. Welcome to my picks and predictions for AEW All Out. I know I said during my WrestlePalooza picks and predictions that I wasn't sure I would do this, but if I'm going to go out of my way to try to watch WrestlePalooza one way or another, I can do the same for All Out. It's Saturday afternoon, so AEW moved it to a different time slot so that it wouldn't interfere with WrestlePalooza, which, never forget, WrestlePalooza only exists to counter-program AEW. So, draw a line under that. I'm not going to talk about why, people are like, oh, it's a cowardly move. It's a smart move. People like me, who want to watch all the wrestling, don't have to sit there and go, which one am I going to watch? Put both on two different TVs. But we are here to talk about the card, as always. It's a little bit longer. Obviously, AEW always has longer shows. 10 matches compared to WrestlePalooza's 5, and 13 if you count the 3 pre-show matches, which is like, I'm not going to pick and predict those here. I think we have a match between the Ops and the Workhorsemen. Daniel Garcia versus, oh my god, the other member of the Ops. I cannot believe I'm blanking. Shibata. Katsuyori Shibata. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I lost it there for a second. So, the Ops are all going to be in action. And then there's this insane 8-woman tornado tag team match featuring a bunch of women on the roster that are all like intertwining storylines basically. So if you're going to check that out, I would. I think it's going to be a good little pre-show. That 8-woman match is going to be awesome. I'm definitely going to watch that. But we're here to talk about the main card again. 10 matches. And you all know I have a new setup here, so let's not waste any more time. So if it wasn't obvious, that from last night, the final face-to-face between FTR and Cope and Christian, or Cage and Cope, as he made sure to take the microphone and say, I'm really excited for this match. This is, I looked back at the card a couple of times, and I just wrote the matches down basically in the order they are on Wikipedia, except I moved the last couple around because they had the world title match somewhere in the center. But as far as excitement goes, this one's way, way up there. These are 2 of the best tag teams of all time. This is definitely a dream tag team match. As far as how I feel about it, picks and predictions wise, I want to pick Edge and Christian. Let's just call them who they are. For obvious reasons. It's a nostalgia thing. And it's really funny when you look at the story. You have to look at the fact that Christian Cage was one of the most horrible heels of the last, 5 to 10 years. Coming at people's dead parents and then threatening to, kill them. And he took Mother Wayne and made terrible, terrible choices there. But, nonetheless, he is I don't want to call him a baby face anymore, but he joined up with his best friend, and now somehow they're just partners. Christian's running with the whole asshole thing, which I think is great. FTR, this is the best version of them, in my opinion. This heel version that just doesn't give a damn. Or last week they attacked security guards and cameramen and production crew, and this week they got that brawl with, you saw that. I don't know if it was caught on this, but if you haven't seen that brawl, you need to go see it, because Christian, he connects with Dax Harwood's nose. Everyone's pretty sure it's broken. I'm making this video at 8 o'clock in the morning. I have not heard any reports on if Dax Harwood's nose is actually broken or not. It was bleeding quite a bit. I wouldn't be surprised if Christian broke something. So hopefully that match is still going forward. I assume it will. Dax Harwood's a real-life tough guy. Again, I kind of went on a rant there, didn't I? Pick-wise, I'm picking Edge and Christian. I'm just going to say it again. Cage and Cope. Prediction-wise, I think I'm going to predict FTR. I think that it's the right move when you're looking at it from a business perspective, looking at it from a story perspective. You give FTR the big win over them, and you can, of course, they'll cheat. Stokely can get involved, or they can use a weapon, or whatever the case may be, and then they can have the rematch down the line. I just heard today, actually, just recently, that apparently sometime next month there's a head-to-head with NXT. In November, they're coming to Nashville for their Thanksgiving show, Thanksgiving Eve and that Collision are back-to-back on the same night. So that's going to be a big event. Doesn't have to be a pay-per-view. They can do the rematch on TV, and Cope and Cage can win that one, and then they can do the blow-off match at, World's End or something. Full Gear, what's the first pay-per-view of the year? Revolution. So I think there's a lot of options here. I don't think it matters who wins. It's one of those things where like I have to pick who I feel I have the most connection to, who I want to win. And I want Cage and Cope to win because of nostalgia. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I'm not going to sit here and be like, well, actually, I'm picking FTR. I'm going to want them to win because of nostalgia, because I have a connection to that team. And I've been a fan of both of them for so long. Christian for longer than you guys realize. I always thought he never got his due. I always thought he was underrated and underutilized in WWE. AEW took a huge chance. The way they promoted him when he first debuted, calling him one of the biggest signings in like history or whatever it was, and everyone was like, "Oh, it's just Christian." I was so excited. But prediction-wise, I do think FTR is going to win. So there you have it. Already kicking it off with, a pick and prediction that are a little different because I'm picking Cope and Cage and Cope, sorry, and I'm predicting FTR. Okay, so that was the best video I could find searching all over AEW's YouTube channel. That's how I do these things. So, but up next, obviously, it's the Hurt Syndicate. Shelton Benjamin, Bobby Lashley, and MVP stepping back in the ring, taking on Ricochet and the Gates of Agony. Man, I bet I don't remember their names. I'm so sorry. It's like Toa Leona and my brain's telling me to say Tongaloa. That's not the right guy. But anyway, this has been a good story so far. These two teams have been brawling everywhere. I wanted to get the shot of them brawling from Dynamite last week, but it had the big AEW logo in the middle, which it's going to happen with the way I do these videos. This one's a little more interesting because I do think I'm picking and predicting the same team. I did hear an interesting argument for Ricochet and the Gates of Agony to win, but I am picking and predicting the Hurt Syndicate. I don't think them losing would be a bad thing. I'm not saying that at all. Ricochet has been a fantastic character. He's had a great run in AEW. I don't know why people don't like him. I don't get it. I know he runs his mouth on social media, but so does every wrestler that's ever had a Twitter since Twitter started. So I don't see why people are mad at him for running his mouth. Having MVP in the ring is going to be cool as well. As I'm talking through it, I can see a world where like Ricochet pins MVP. Because MVP, this is only his second match, I believe, since joining AEW. It might be his third, but again, I'm pretty sure it's only his second. So it's going to be like a ring rust thing. Ricochet can pin him while the Gates of Agony and Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin just kill each other elsewhere. But I don't know. I don't think that needs to happen. I think the Hurt Syndicate is probably going to be built back up to go either for the tag titles or the trios titles. I guess trios titles don't make sense if MVP's not wrestling full time. I'm a little torn on this one. I'm not gonna lie. Pick wise, I still want to pick the Hurt Syndicate. I like them too much, and I love Ricochet, but he's good at taking losses, right? Like he's fine at losing here and there. Although I do believe Bobby Lashley won that match on Dynamite last night. AEW's kind of killed the expectation that if you lose on the go-home show, you win at the pay-per-view. You kind of never know with AEW, and I think that's a great thing for them. I'm not saying WWE does it all the time, but you expect a lot more from WWE. For example, Becky Lynch hit AJ Lee with a manhandle slam. That's all I'm saying. Prediction-wise, I'm a little unsure. I'm still going to stick with my guns, because as I wrote this stuff down in my notebook, I was thinking Hurt Syndicate, but I would not be surprised if, like I said, Ricochet pins MVP specifically. Because MVP can take that loss, and then Shelton and Bobby can be a little angry about it, but then we can move on and do, the tag match, which I'm pretty sure we've already done, but it's fine. It's not a big deal. Picks and predictions, the Hurt Syndicate, but I don't say that with 100% confidence. Again, last time, I apologize for I'll have to take those videos. If anything, having the AEW logo probably helps me out with the copyright a little bit. But I won't mention it again. We are talking about Mercedes Moné versus Riho for the TBS Championship. And this is another one of those interesting ones, like I mentioned just a moment ago, in classic wrestling tropes. Whoever gets the last shot in on the go-home show usually loses at the pay-per-view. And who got the last shot in on Dynamite this week? It was Mercedes. So That's interesting. I like this story a lot. Riho is an OG. She was like the first ever AEW Women's Champion. This is going to be a really interesting match, I think, because AEW had a bad habit for a long time of putting Riho in matches with people bigger than her. That's like, oh, that person's going to throw her around, and then she would win anyway. So this is a little more interesting as far as like the size comparison and the experience comparison, the styles, all that kind of stuff. So here's how I'm going to do this one. This is another one that's going to be interesting. I'm picking Riho, but I am predicting Mercedes Moné. Now, I'm picking Riho because I've said this for a couple of months now, before anybody gets their confusions. I don't want to say knickers in a twist because it's not true. That you will when I say the next sentence, because I do like Mercedes. I don't think there's anything wrong with what she's doing. People are like, oh, well, she's collecting belts from companies I've never heard of. Ultimo Dragon did the same thing. People are defending Ultimo Dragon, but he did the same thing, right? And that's what a belt collector is. They don't care where they get their belts from. And it's just a gimmick, right? Everyone's like, what you're doing, essentially, is you're not talking shit about Mercedes. You're talking shit about these other indie companies. You're downing them. Like, if anything, they are put up to a higher level because Mercedes Moné came in, took their title, and has it on Dynamite every week. Just because she doesn't talk about it doesn't mean it doesn't matter, right? Her whole point is I can go around the world to indie companies, big companies, companies from international waters, win titles, and bring them here to a company that is viewed internationally and on public television, national television, stuff like that. International television for that. So for those of you who just can't seem to grasp your head around the gimmick, it's really not that hard. I'm predicting Riho because I think that, and I think I've said this in past videos, when Mercedes loses her first belt, that's going to be the start of her downfall. And I thought this would have started already. It hasn't yet. I was really pushing for title matches between her and Toni Storm. That way Toni could have had both belts. Why not? And then Mercedes could go do whatever she's got to do elsewhere before she probably win the title back down the line. Or become women's world champion. Because she's going to be world champion one day. And I know that the haters, the grifters, the weirdos, the internet troglodytes, which is my new favorite phrase, are mad that she even exists. But someday she's going to be women's world champion. I just don't know when. I think this is the perfect time. I think she could lose the title to Riho, and you could do the same thing that I was talking about with the tag match. You could do the rematch whenever and just have her win the title back. Riho can win the belt and then lose the belt and still be Riho. Still be way up on that upper echelon. Prediction-wise, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that the person to beat Mercedes is going to be someone who AEW is looking to launch onto a different platform. I think someone like Alex Windsor is probably a better bet, in my opinion. You don't need to do it with Chris Statlander, but she's someone that pops in my mind. I know she's in the women's world title match, and we'll get there. But she's someone else that I think of that could be like, hey, she's kind of been doing this for, jumping up and down the card for the last year, maybe. At least the last year. And she's doing the stuff with the Death Riders. And then there's the Death Riders, too. There's Marina Shafir. These are women that don't need the boost. But if they were TBS champion, if they were to beat Mercedes Moné, that could launch them up. And now that I've said that, actually, I wouldn't mind if Mercedes Mercedes lost to Marina. That'd be really good for Marina because she needs to do more as well. Like, she just kind of protects Jon Moxley. She was about to be challenged by Willow Nightingale, and then they did this stuff with Harley Cameron. Blah, 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 blah. So, I kind of got off track, but I do that a lot. It's not news. Hi, child. I'm picking Riho just because I think it's the right time. I personally would love to see her be TBS champion. No, she doesn't need, I kind of contradicted myself there because no, she doesn't need the boost. I mean, she's Riho. Like I said, she doesn't need the boost, but it would be good for her, and then she'd be around, she'd be here more often, whatever. She'd be more full-time, and then it would give us a new story to keep going for Mercedes instead of just, here's a challenger, have a story for 3 weeks, beat him, here's your next challenger. But prediction-wise, I think that we're going to keep going with Mercedes for a little while longer until AEW picks that person that they want to put on that pedestal. So, pick Riho. Prediction, Mercedes Moné retains.
Darby, no problem. You just won't go away. So, I'm going to do it myself.
All right, so again, doing the best I can. Jon Moxley, Darby Allin, a coffin match. This one is... Oh boy. Okay, so I mentioned how there's a lot of matches on this card that I'm very excited for. This one, I'm looking back at the card right now. It is up there for me. If you've been watching my content at all for the last almost 2 years now, we're getting there. I am a huge fan of Jon Moxley. I'm a huge fan of Darby Allin. And I'm a huge fan of hardcore wrestling, ultra-violent wrestling, deathmatch wrestling, whatever you want to call it. The point is, I'm a big fan of it. And this is going to be all of those things wrapped into one of the most violent barbed wire wrapped packages you've ever seen in your life. A lot of people are calling this like the scariest match on the card as a joke, obviously. But you got two guys that aren't afraid to do anything to each other and themselves in a coffin match. Now, a coffin match in and of itself is just a casket match, right? They have to call it a coffin match because I'm sure WWE would sue if they called it anything else. But, however, it's Jon Moxley and Darby Allin. I don't know about how much involvement we're going to get from the Death Riders. I assume a ton. I assume that it's a match with Jon Moxley in it, so we're going to see Marina Shafir, we're going to see Daniel Garcia for sure. I don't know who else we'll see. I don't know who is like going to help Darby. You know, I don't know if I thought this briefly. I don't know if maybe Jon Moxley is going to like get in Bryan Danielson's face and maybe he'll come off the commentary booth and have to help Darby a little bit. I don't think the Paragon's going to help Darby. That doesn't make any sense. I'm having a hard time pick-wise. I'm going to be honest. Mostly because I love them both so much. Prediction-wise, I do feel like Jon Moxley is going to win. I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, I should have looked this up before I go. If Darby has ever lost a coffin match, it's only been once. It might have been, I think he might have lost the one to Jungle Boy, or to Jack Perry, whatever his name is now. The point is, that's his match, that's his type. He wins and wins and wins and wins. But Moxley just lost the world title, and he's trying to get back on track. The whole Death Riders thing is not about titles, it's about upping everyone else's game. It's, making the company better. So I do think Jon Moxley is going to win this. I think that even if Darby has some friends, I don't think it's going to matter. I think everyone's just going to brawl around, and in the end, Jon Moxley will win. We'll probably see a crazy coffin drop. We'll probably see some crazy weapons. I hope we don't see thumbtacks for reasons we'll get into in just a moment. But we'll see some stuff. We'll probably see some barbed wire. We'll see some blood. I don't know what else we'll see. I feel like I have this image in my head of Moxley hitting the paradigm shift or the Death Rider, which is the double arm DDT, but he lifts you up in the air. It's more like a double arm brainbuster on the coffin at some point. So pick-wise, I'm going to be honest, it's too hard. I like them both. And again, I'm not going to lie to you guys. I'm not going to sit here and just give you what you want to hear, give you what everyone else is going to say. If I can't pick somebody, I can't pick somebody. Prediction-wise, I do think Jon Moxley is going to win, and the Death Riders are going to head in a different direction from here. MJF, Mark Briscoe, tables and tacks. This one's going to be really interesting. This is what I was getting at with the Moxley-Allin match. I apologize, by the way, if I seem like I'm blowing through this. It's 10 matches, okay? And I just want to make sure I talk about each one and not waste y'all's time too much. But this has been one of my favorite feuds of the year. I've loved every second of it. I love the fact that clearly Mark Briscoe and Jay Briscoe's family have agreed to let MJF kind of roll with some of these comments over the last few months. I'm always a little taken aback by it, personally, because we've talked about the Mark Briscoe, Jay Briscoe stuff, and I would be inconsolable if something happened to my brother. So this has been a really good feud. Clearly, they both care a lot about it, and this is such an interesting finale for it, I guess. I wasn't sure what kind of match Mark Briscoe would pick. It was up in the air. I thought he picked something like Ladder War or some sort of, I don't know, maybe a Taipei death match. If you know, you know. If you don't know, don't worry about it. Tables and tacks is very interesting because I guess we're just going to have somebody go through a table with thumbtacks on it. I don't know. MJF was hilarious on Dynamite last night. He went into an office and screamed at Tony Khan, and then when Tony Khan said, "You got to wrestle a match, sorry," he said, "I'm going to put another Briscoe in the ground and it'll be on your head." God, again, these comments. Pick-wise, I'm picking Mark Briscoe. I think that it is time for him to get that big win on a pay-per-view stage over MJF. I think it will be awesome. I think that MJF is going to spend most of the match trying to avoid the thumbtack specifically. I think he'll probably put Mark Briscoe through a table, whatever. We're going to see a lot of blood on the show, as always. Prediction-wise, again, this time it's the switch from the last match. My pick is pretty obvious. I really want Mark Briscoe to take home this win. I want him to beat MJF and then go do something bigger. Prediction-wise, I'm having a hard time because I can't tell where this story is going to go. On the one hand, you do exactly what I said. You would just have Mark Briscoe get the big win, and it's like, yay, he beat MJF, and then he can go maybe do something else, and then MJF can lose. And I almost called it the Money in the Bank. His contract that he won, that magical contract thing that he wants to cash in, the casino contract, I think it is, whatever, he can still have that. Like, you can beat MJF and then have him cash that in, which we'll talk about that as well in just a little while. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but I am going to discuss it because I think it's worth discussing. On the other end, on the other side of everything, it's just MJF, right? So MJF, top star, you just have him win. I don't know. I think I'm going to predict Mark Briscoe as well. I think the way the story is being told, it seems like we're heading towards Mark Briscoe getting his big win on MJF. It's a match that Mark Briscoe chose. MJF was like, you can choose the place, the time, the match. And Mark Briscoe chose the place, the time, and the match. Now MJF's complaining about it. Classic MJF. Yeah, I think that's smart. I think pick and prediction-wise, I'm going with Mark Briscoe because I think we have bigger plans for MJF, so it's not going to hurt him to lose. If anything, it's just going to elevate Mark Briscoe to go do other things. Or they'll have another match down the line. They'll have a rematch that's a regular match or a cage match, or maybe they'll both be involved in Blood and Guts, which I don't think we've seen this year. So lots of options here, but I am picking and predicting Mark Briscoe. Four-way matchup for the Women's World Championship. Toni Storm will defend against Jamie Hayter, Chris Statlander, and Tekla. This is going to be really, really good. These are probably my four favorite women in AEW. Like, I love them all so much. And Tekla, of course, when she came in, I didn't know who she was, but I did the thing. Sorry if there's a weird gap. I looked her up, I figured out who she was, I figured out where she came from, and ever since then, I have absolutely fallen in love with her character, her moveset, everything about her. I told my wife last night, we were watching Dynamite together, and I was like, it's cheating, because she has a lot of the things that I am already all about. So, I'm sorry, I have to keep walking off to deal with my daughter. So I keep kind of forgetting where I am. Point is, pick-wise, I'm picking Tekla. That's where I was going with this. I've been so impressed with her in-ring work, her character, the way that, I don't know if she's getting better every week or if she was already that good, because I haven't really watched her stuff before AEW, but it seems to me like she's getting better every week. We're clearly building her as a major star, so this is a four-way. You can have her beat Jamie or Chris. I think, here's how I would personally end the matchup, pick-wise. Remember, I'm just talking about picks. I would have her beat Chris Statlander. I don't know if she beats her by pinfall. Does she beat her by submission? I have no clue. Point is, that's how I would end the match. And then Chris can continue to get angrier and probably get pushed towards the Death Riders more. I really do believe that is the eventual story. Either she's going to have to face Marina Shafir and get through that, or she's going to join the Death Riders. Prediction-wise, I am just going to predict Toni Storm. I know it sounds boring, but this is not the first time that we've done this kind of match. Like, I have pretty strong memories of this happening more than once. We just do this thing where she gets multiple challengers, goes in, everyone assumes she's going to lose the title, and she doesn't. So, I know that sounds kind of monotone, like boring. This match will not be boring. This match will be fantastic. I actually don't really know who's going to win, but for the sake of the video, I am predicting Toni Storm. I think that she's just on the run of her lifetime. She could lose the title and be okay, which is why I'm picking Tekla. Again, love Jamie Hayter. Love Chris Statlander. Not saying they couldn't win, but from the outside perspective, it does seem like we are really pushing Tekla. And again, I'm super impressed with her. So picking Tekla to become the brand new AEW Women's World Champion. However, I'm predicting that Toni Storm will once again retain. Kazuchika Okada is going to defend his AEW Unified title, which I thought was one belt, but apparently it's three, against Konosuke. I'm tired and I have been dealing with my daughter. I'm so sorry. I'm better at this. It's Kazuchika Okada, Konosuke Takeshita, and Mascara Dorada. Booyah. Triple threat match for the AEW Unified title. This was one of the matches that surprised me. When I did my WrestlePalooza picks and predictions, I thought about doing All Out the same day. I ran out of time, and then on Wednesday, when looking at the Dynamite card, I found out that they were picking the challengers for this match and for the tag team title ladder match, which we will get to, which it's another. I'll admit that I haven't really criticized AEW in this video, which isn't on purpose. I'm not saying they don't have problems, and this is one of them. They have these two championships, the tag titles and the unified title, that don't really have a proper number one contender or a proper feud. They just said, hey, we're having a special episode of Dynamite. We're going to do a ladder match and a triple threat. Let's throw some number one contenders matches on there. It's not great, right? We criticized WWE for the exact same thing with like the women's US title and the Raw tag team titles. So got to criticize both companies. You got to be honest with yourself. Not great. However, the matches are always perfect. Like, you can criticize the build all you want. AEW almost always delivers on the match quality. It's Okada, Takeshita, Dorada. This is going to be awesome. I was surprised at Dorada's victory. That's the other thing, is with this match and one other, I think in the tag division thing. I'm so sorry. I really thought that the Beast Mortos was going to win. They've been kind of pushing him a little more. I was definitely surprised by Dorada's win. But it's going to be good, right? You saw him do that cool springboard. So it takes two wrestlers, Okada and Takeshita, that have the Japanese style, the strong style. They're going to hit really hard. Not saying Takeshita doesn't do dives, but they're probably going to let Dorada do all that kind of stuff. So it throws a wrench in the plans. Picks and predictions, Okada, right? I love Takeshita. Actually, I wouldn't mind picking Takeshita. I actually think Takeshita winning would be great. However, my brain just can't wrap my head around anyone else winning this match but Okada. So that's just how I feel. I would love to pick Takeshita. It's my video. You should be like, well, you can pick Takeshita. All my other picks I've explained. I've been like, this is why I think they should win or how they can win. I can't defend anybody beating Okada. So I think Okada's going to keep that title for a while. I think the person to beat him for it will be Kenny Omega. I'm just going to be honest with you guys. I think that is the direction. We had their match earlier this year, their fifth match against each other. I do think AEW knows what they're doing. They're going to push a sixth match between them, and that's likely where that title will go. I don't know when that'll happen, because you can hold it off forever. I mean, what was it, 8 years before they wrestled again? So don't even worry about it. So I do hate being boring, but this one's pretty obvious. It'll be a really good match. Don't get me wrong. We have Takeshita and Okada, which I would have rather had the singles match. I'm not entirely sure why they felt like they had to do a multi-man, but they are, and Dorada will bring a great presence to this matchup. But pick and prediction, Okada retains the unified title.
How about this? Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Next Saturday at All Out. And all of the idiots on the internet on their little devices, they think you're actually going to have the balls to show up.
Big Bill has challenged Eddie Kingston to a match at All Out, and this is insane. So I did not realize just how long he's been gone. That video was from like almost 2 weeks ago. Last night on Dynamite, Big Bill said it's been like 16 months. Eddie Kingston's been gone for 16 months. and Big Bill has challenged him to come back at All Out. The match has been made official, which I think is silly, right? Like, if you're going to do a storyline like this where it's someone who's been gone for a year and 4 months, you should bill it as, will Eddie Kingston accept the challenge of Big Bill? You don't put up a match graphic and be like, it has been made official. Eddie Kingston will be there. Because Big Bill, the story, again, see, I'm not afraid to criticize all wrestling. His whole thing has been, I'm challenging you to a match at All Out, but I bet you won't show up. You don't have the balls to show up. You're not going to show up, and it'll prove that I'm better than you in every single way. And Brian Keith yells stuff at the camera. Making the match official as a match graphic kind of takes away the aura of the match. Now, it's Eddie Kingston. The crowd is going to go absolutely ballistic. They always do. Eddie Kingston could come out to 50 people in a sports bar, and it would sound like the king of the world had just arrived. Imagine what it's going to be like in Toronto with all those fans. So I'm not saying it ruined it. It's not a surprise, obviously. If he's challenging him, he's going to come back. But I think you could have done better with the story. I think it could have been like, Tony Khan could have made it like Big Bill versus Eddie Kingston, ? Like, is this match going to happen? We'll see if Eddie Kingston shows up. And that is kind of how at least the announcers are trying to sell it. But it's a dumb criticism, I guess, and I feel like it is. But I do feel like it's silly. I'm sorry. I feel like it's silly to have the match graphic, like, official. I think they should do better with that. However, obviously, this is going to be a boring one. Pick Eddie Kingston. Prediction, Eddie Kingston. So that's another one where I don't mind the other guy winning. I think Big Bill winning would be cool. I just don't see it happening unless they have huge plans for Big Bill. You don't have someone come back after 16 months and lose unless you have plans for the other guy. And I just don't think AEW has proper plans for Big Bill, which is really sad. It's really unfortunate because he's amazing. I was, like most people, a little underwhelmed. Had like I did the noise. I went, oh, when they first paired him with Chris Jericho during the Learning Tree stuff. But he's gotten so much better because of that. Y'all can say whatever you want about Chris Jericho. He's a legend of the game. He knows the business. He's one of the best minds of the business. So even if the on-screen stuff wasn't your thing, Big Bill clearly learned from Chris Jericho. And Brian Keith as well. And now they're still together, and I love that. So that's great, but you're not going to hurt Big Bill having him lose. Again, Eddie Kingston will get a massive pop. It'll probably be a pretty interesting match, mostly because Big Bill is Big Bill. Big Bill's big. Big is in the damn name. I remember when people were criticizing his name, and Taz called it out on commentary. Well, people were wondering why he's called Big Bill, because his name is Bill and he's freaking big. Love Taz. Love Taz so much. I'm sorry about the light and the glare, by the way. I have a window right there, and there's not much I can do about it. We're going to put up curtains later. Just Eddie Kingston's got to win, right? Pick-wise, I want to see Eddie Kingston win. Prediction-wise, he's got to win. So it'll be fun. He'll get a huge pop. He'll get beat up a bunch, and then he'll win anyway. Cool stuff. Pick and predict the Mad King, Eddie Kingston.
Especially Brody King. I mean, he's a guy that's going to excel in any brawling situation. And the champions, they cleared the ring. But they're going to have their work cut out for them this Saturday afternoon.
Going to use last night's Dynamite for both of these last two matches on here. That's right, we're down to the last two. First up is Bandito, and Brody King defending the tag team titles against the Young Bucks, Jet Speed, and the John Callis family, specifically Hechicero and Josh Alexander, in a ladder match. Another thing AEW loves to do, another thing that I can understand the criticisms of. Brodito didn't have a clear challenger, so they're like, ladder match, 3 matches, go! And I thought I got this mixed up, but I didn't. It was kind of obvious who was going to win all these matches. The Young Bucks, Hechicero and Josh Alexander, Jet Speed. It all made sense. Again, you look at the story, you look at the people in the matches, like, God, I can't even remember who they all faced. Don Callis' family faced like Top Flight. The Young Bucks faced the Bang Bang Gang. I can't remember who Jet Speed beat, but it was another team that you're just like, they're not going to win. So this will be awesome. I mean, you got the Young Bucks, you got Jet Speed, you got the other two teams, Don Callis' family, Brodito. Not to keep repeating their names, but you got to really think about who's all in this match. Pick-wise, I am picking Jet Speed. I have picked Jet Speed the last couple times they've been in this position. They are a really good team. Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight have taken what was essentially an old school tactic of just taking two guys and putting them together and really made it work. I thought they were going to win the titles 2 pay-per-views ago when they were in the three-way for the titles, which is where Brodito ended up winning them. Prediction-wise, I'm having a hard time here. Part of me wants to predict the Young Bucks. I think that them winning that $500,000 match and then winning this match, I think they're on the way back up. I think them winning the tag titles could be the top it all off things like, hey, we won the belts. But I also feel like they should lose because of the same reasons. Like, I think them winning the money and then winning the contendership has their expectations too high. They assume that they're already back on top, and then if they lose this, it will drop them right back down. And we continue this fantastic story they've been doing ever since they lost their EVP roles. It's hard. Part of me also wants to predict the Don Callis family because of the main event. I think that giving them the tag titles wouldn't be the end of the world. I'm having a hard time predicting this one overall. You know what? I am going to predict that Brodito retains. I'm looking back at the match, and a lot of content creators in the wrestling sphere, they make up their minds before the videos. I kind of like to just go with how I feel during the videos. So I'm going to predict that Brodito retains. I think that prediction-wise, story-wise, I think it's best that the Young Bucks lose. The Don Callis family is the Don Callis family. I hate to say it, but a lot of times when that faction has belts, they don't do anything with them unless it's just random matches on TV, not actual stories. Again, go back to the unified title stuff. And I don't see anybody else taking them unless they want to give them the jet speed. But that's it for that. I guess I'm going to pick Jet Speed. I really think they would be great with the tag titles, and I love this idea of not hot potatoing the titles, but a lot of champions in wrestling these days hold titles for lengthier time. So give it to Brodito, give it to Jet Speed. Maybe they can give it to someone else. Just kind of have these different teams winning the belts. I think would be really cool. But I am predicting a retention from Brodito, and I'm also predicting some absolute insanity in this ladder match. And unlike WWE WrestlePalooza, the main event of All Out is pretty obvious. Hangman Adam Page defending the All Elite Wrestling World Championship against Kyle Fletcher. Look, this is another one where I'm not saying there's no jeopardy, but I don't think there's much jeopardy. This is one of the ones where clearly the man, the superstar, who's going to lose this weekend got the bigger end of it, got the better hand, got the upper hand. I can't get my words out right. Kind of cool just seeing a suplex off the apron through a table. I don't think I've ever seen that before, or at least it's rare, because table spots are always these big, massive things, and Kyle Fletcher's doing a suplex. Looked really cool, I think, and the table break was awesome. Gonna be that guy, picking Hangman Adam Page, predicting Hangman Adam Page. However, there's another potential I want to talk about. Now, I'm picking Hangman Adam Page because he's got that main character energy back. He's been such a great champion with Ospreay and Strickland and Omega all taking time off for injuries or one reason or another. I think they did a really good job making sure Hangman still stayed relevant. Same thing with Kyle Fletcher, putting him in this position. I don't think it was too soon. I think he's been building himself great since he separated from Ospreay, joined the Callis family. This match is going to be awesome. Picking Hangman Adam Page for just because it makes sense in my head. Predicting Hangman Adam Page for the same reasons, I guess. I think this is a temporary feud. I don't think it should be. Personally, I think he should beat Kyle Fletcher and then maybe face someone else from the Don Callis family. Maybe even Okada. I'm not saying do that. I'm not trying to throw ideas at AEW. But the Don Callis family is a faction that likes to be like, we're all coming after you. And then when the one person they send out there loses, they're like, no, we're not, never mind. So I think we should continue that. I think Hangman should win, and then afterwards to continue going after Hangman, unless, this is another idea I had, that I kind of talked about this during the match itself, But we have MJF versus Mark Briscoe. And the thing about MJF right now is he has that casino gauntlet contract or whatever it is, which is just like Money in the Bank. You can kind of turn it in whenever you want. Magical contract, yada, yada, yada. I think what you could do is have him lose. And like I said in that match, he'll always have the contract. That's what you do with Money in the Bank, right? You beat him and beat him and beat him because they're about to be world champion. You could do that on this night. I do not think that is a bad idea. I think that it is so obliviously obvious, like it's so in your face obvious that Kyle Fletcher is not going to be world champion, and not ever. Like someday he obviously will be world champion, but not all out. That you could get away with no Don Callis shenanigans. I think it's in the contract. Hangman said that if the Don Callis family gets involved, not only does he lose the match, he gets stripped of the TNT title. What you can do is have Hangman win, clean as a whistle, whatever. There'll probably be some cheating from Kyle Fletcher. Maybe Don Callis even shows up and somebody tries to interfere, but then they're like, oh, don't do it. Hangman wins. You have the Don Callis family beat up Hangman. I don't know who saves him, if anybody. And then you could have MJF cash in the contract. Another option. You have Hangman win. You have somebody help him, or maybe he fights off the Don Callis family all on his own. MJF comes out anyway, and he's like, but before I cash in the contract, I need to make sure that I can, take care of you. I don't think you've been hurt enough. The Hurt Syndicate comes out, because remember, Adam Copeland hired them a while back. So MJF could hire the Hurt Syndicate, I know he's no longer in the group, to come out and beat up Hangman Adam Page, and then he wins the world title. That second option with the Hurt Syndicate, you can do whenever you want. I actually think that's what they should do in the long run, is MJF got kicked out of the Hurt Syndicate, but screw it, he's MJF, he's got money, he's got the contract, he hires them to beat up Hangman Adam Page, and then takes the title from him. However, I do think it's possible, I don't think it's a high percentage, maybe like 10-20% chance, that MJF gets destroyed in the tables and tax match, loses, everyone forgets about it, enjoys the main event, and then the Don Callis family attacks Adam Page afterwards, and they leave him laying, and then MJF's music hits, and MJF walks out as a World Heavyweight Champion. I'm predicting that it is a possibility. The overall prediction is that Hangman Adam Page will retain his World Heavyweight Championship. Thank you everybody so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave a comment down below what you think about all this. I tried to make it a shorter video, but it's a double the matches of WrestlePalooza, so what do you expect? What match are you looking most forward to? Again, I'm going to try to watch both shows as much as evenly as I can. I did just find out yesterday that I have to work on Saturday, so I do not know what time I'm going to be home. I do not know if I'm going to catch all of All Out right away, but I will make sure to get both All Out and WrestlePalooza watched and reviewed this weekend. Enjoy another great weekend of wrestling. I made the comment and pointed out and criticized. It's not really a criticism. WWE counter-programming AEW just means we get more wrestling. So, who am I to complain? Enjoy this weekend. Until next time, this is JT Channel. I am JT, and I will see you in the next one.